All right, so this question says that Ahriman and Sawyer left Panther Creek at the same time and they drove in opposite directions. So Ahriman drove 40 kilometers per hour faster than Sawyer, and then after 4 hours, they were 400 kilometers apart. And so we're going to be finding Sawyer's speed and making sure we include our units in our answer. So some things to keep a note here. One, Ahriman drove 400 kilometers faster than Sawyer. They drove in opposite directions. After 4 hours, they were 400 kilometers apart, and then we're finding Sawyer's speed. So we're going to make a distance rate timetable here. So we'll have A for Ahriman and S for Sawyer, and we have our distance, our rate, and our time. So we know that both of them traveled for 4 hours because they left at the same time, and it says after 4 hours. So we have T is going to be 4 for each of them. Now, does this mean that our distance is going to be 400 for each of them as well? No, this also does not mean that they're going to be 200 apart or distance is 200 either, because of the fact that they're traveling at different speeds. So we know that Ahriman drove 40 kilometers per hour faster than Sawyer. And so if he drove 40 kilometers faster than Sawyer, we have to reference this to Sawyer. And so the way I like to think about this always is, who do we know the least about? And we know the least about Sawyer. So Sawyer's speed, or our rate, is going to be x, whereas Ahriman's speed is going to be x plus 40 because it's going to be 40 kilometers per hour faster. And then, using this information that we have on the table filled in, we can go now and fill out our distance for both Sawyer and Ahriman. So distance is going to be equal to our rate times our time. So that means if I just multiply these two together, that will give me 4x, and then 4 times 40 will give me 160. So 4x plus 160, and that's going to be equal to, or then we're going to have x times 4, which will also give me 4x. Now, here's the part where we go ahead and tie in the fact they are 400 kilometers apart. So these two distances, because they're traveling in opposite directions, we have Sawyer here and Ahriman here. This is going to be the 4x right here, and this is going to be 4x plus 160. And then together, because they're traveling in opposite directions, that should equal 400. So in order to get that, we would have to do 4x for Sawyer plus 4x plus 160 for Ahriman is going to equal to 400. So then I just have to combine like terms and solve here. So that will give me 8x plus 160 is equal to 400, which then that will give me 8x is going to equal 240. So x will equal 30. And then just to go ahead and double check things here, it says we're asking for Sawyer's speed, and we represented Sawyer's speed or Sawyer's rate with x. So that means Sawyer is traveling 30 kilometers per hour. And that would be my answer.